How does a neighborhood tyrant go from feared to humiliated in just 10 days? All it took was one locked garage, a trip to Puerto Rico, and an HOA president who thought she could rewrite the rules of private property. By the time I came back, the whole street was laughing, just not at me. Act 1. The conflict begins. My name's Calvin Rodes, and I live alone in a 2-story brick house on the south side of Charlotte. Quiet street, tidy lawns, the kind of neighborhood where sprinklers hum at night and mailboxes all match because the HOA insists on it. Now, if you've ever lived under a homeowners association, you know exactly the type. There's always that one person, the Karen with a clipboard, who thinks the bylaws were handed down on stone tablets. For us, that person was Marjorie Kellum. 53 years old, sharp blonde bob, never a hair out of place, and a voice that could slice concrete. She was the HOA president, and she didn't just enforce rules, she fed on them. Grass too long. You got a letter. Trash can left out 10 minutes late. She had photos. Kids playing basketball in the driveway after dark safety violation. That was Marjorie. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the day I came home from work, pulled up my driveway, and saw my garage door closed, locked and wrong. I pressed the remote. The door rattled open, and there it was, a silver Lexus SUV parked neatly inside my garage. My garage. Like it belonged there. I stepped out of my car staring. I didn't own a Lexus. I didn't let anyone borrow my garage. And then from the door leading to my kitchen, she appeared clipboard queen herself. "Street parking violates community standards, Calvin," she said, arms folded like I was a child past curfew. "I was at a board meeting. I couldn't leave my car on the curb, so I used your garage. Temporary situation." I laughed one of those short, bitter laughs that says, "You've got to be kidding me. You broke into my house." It wasn't breaking in, she shot back chin high. The door was unlocked, practically an invitation. That's when it hit me. This woman didn't just bend the rules, she rewrote reality to suit herself. My garage, my lock, my property. And she acted like I should thank her. I could have lost my temper, called the cops right there. But instead I remembered something, my flight confirmation. 10 days in Puerto Rico, suitcase already packed by the stairs. And suddenly a thought hit me. What if I didn't fight this the loud way? What if I let her trap herself? So I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Fine. If you think this is acceptable, let's see how acceptable it feels in a week." Then I lowered the garage door, locked it, and walked out to my ride share. Her voice was still echoing about community rights as I headed to the airport. I swear the laugh that came out of me in that car wasn't humor. It was disbelief. 10 days in Puerto Rico for me. 10 days in captivity for her Lexus. Act 2. Escalation and the turning point. From San Juan with sand between my toes and a mojito in hand, I couldn't help picturing that Lexus sitting like a prisoner in my garage. At first I felt a little guilty, but then the updates trickled in. Day 1, she panicked. Called me non-stop voicemails demanding I release her vehicle immediately. I didn't answer. Day 2, her husband Douglas found out. He rubbed his forehead and said, "Marjorie, you don't keep order. You control. Now your SUV is trapped while he's sipping rum." Even he was sick of her power trips. Day 3, she had to beg rides from neighbors she usually lectured. Gordon Hayes, retired postman, even laughed as she got into his car. Didn't think the HOA needed us mere mortals. The humiliation burned her alive. By day 4, she tried convincing the neighborhood handyman to drill into my garage. He told her flat out, "Lady that's breaking and entering, you want me locked up too?" Each day her pride cracked deeper. The HOA board meetings, her kingdom turned on her. Neighbors snickered, asking, "So where's the Lexus tonight?" Marjorie, still in storage. Even her so-called allies called her out. "You've gone too far." And me. I was lounging on the beach telling the story to a teacher from Ohio I'd met at the hotel bar. She laughed so hard she nearly spit out her drink. "So you just locked it and left?" I shrugged. Sometimes silence teaches louder than shouting. But then, I'll admit it, around day 5 I started to doubt myself. Sitting on the balcony I thought, what if she calls the police? What if this flips on me and I'm the one facing charges for holding her property hostage? Maybe I should just give in, Unlock the door, avoid the headache. That doubt lingered heavy. I almost dialed a neighbor to ask them to open it. But then I heard the news Marjorie had actually tried to pry my garage open with a screwdriver, caught red-handed by a patrol officer while neighbors recorded her on their phones. Right then, the doubt vanished. She wasn't just embarrassing herself, she was torching her own throne, and all I had to do was stay quiet. By day 7, kids were chalk-drawing little garages on the sidewalk with an SUV stuck inside. By day 8, someone taped a paper plate to her mailbox that said, "Reserved parking." The private Facebook group blew up with jokes and memes about her Lexus. Marjorie, the woman who once terrified everyone with fines and threats, was now the punchline of the entire neighborhood. And the more she fought, the deeper she sank. Act 3. The climax and justice. By the 10th day, the air in the cul-de-sac buzzed with anticipation. Word had spread beyond the neighborhood. Everyone knew Calvin Rodas was flying back that night. When my rideshare pulled into the driveway, I saw them neighbors gathered in lawn chairs, beers in hand, teenagers with phones out like they were waiting for fireworks. Gordon raised his can. "Welcome home, Calvin. Been quiet without you." I chuckled. Somehow I doubt that. Inside, I dropped my suitcase, grabbed the garage remote, and stood at the doorway. My thumb hovered, then clicked. The door rattled upward, and there it was, her Lexus dusty but gleaming under the lights. The crowd erupted in laughter and applause like it was the 7th-inning stretch. And right on cue, Marjorie stormed out of her house heels, clacking face-red voice sharp as a whip. "Calvin Rodas, this has gone on long enough. Release my car immediately." I leaned against the frame, calm as ever. "Looks like it's already released. All you had to do was wait." "Wait," she screeched. "Do you have any idea what I've endured this week? The disrespect, the humiliation." "Sounds like a taste of your own medicine," I said evenly. "You've been handing that out for years." The neighbors murmured, nodding. Every pair of eyes was on her now, and none with sympathy. Her husband stood at the edge of their lawn, arms crossed, silent. "You think you're protecting standards by trespassing," I pressed. "By using my home like it's public storage. Marjorie, you crossed a line, and instead of owning it, you doubled down." Her lips trembled. She scanned the crowd, people she'd fined for garden gnomes, threatened over porch swings, scolded for kids' toys. Not one defended her. Phones recorded as her empire crumbled in real time. I walked into the garage, pressed the remote, and shut the door again. The neighborhood roared with laughter. A minute later, I reopened it, slid the keys onto her dashboard, and looked her square in the eye. "There. Your car's free. But understand, this respect isn't something you demand with a clipboard. It's something you earn, and you've spent the last 10 days proving you don't have it." Silence. For once, Marjorie had no comeback. She grabbed the keys with shaking hands, drove her Lexus 20 feet into her own driveway, and disappeared inside. Shoulders hunched, power broken. The crowd slowly dispersed, still chuckling, leaving her to stew in the silence of her own house. And me. I sat on my porch with a coffee the next morning, watching kids ride bikes and neighbors laugh freely for the first time in years. Final line lesson. Sometimes the loudest stand isn't shouting or fighting, it's simply refusing to let someone's entitlement become your burden.